Joining me now is Alastair Still, the CEO of GoldMining Inc. Good to see you again, Alastair.
Great to be on here today. Thanks for hosting me today, Mark.
Yeah, we talked at Beaver Creek in early September, and at that time, one of the key things we talked about with the company is the diversified strategy with multiple projects across the Americas. And then alongside of that, you have significant equity stakes in Nev Gold, US Gold Mining, and Gold Royalty as well, run by Mr. Garofalo. And then since we spoke last time, the company came out with initial assay results for its cornerstone project, São Jorge in Brazil. And within that, you discovered new gold prospects, 4 of them, and you're calling them Dragon West, William North, William South, and Ivanette. So can you give us some more details about those results?
Yeah, absolutely. You've highlighted a few key things there, and beyond the equity portfolio, which has done very well, certainly São Jorge has been a focus of attention. We are underway this year with the largest drilling campaign to date on the property, and to date that our company has put together on the property. Those initial results, I think, really give us some excitement about what the future holds for São Jorge. We think the existing mineral resource estimate that we have announced on the project, updated earlier this year, that's a good solid resource. It's around that 1 gram per ton range. It's the same style and tenor of mineralization as we see at G Mining's Tocantinzinho mine in the district. We have the added advantage of being adjacent to the highway here. We're about 2 kilometers from a major paved surface, so we've got good access and infrastructure. But those results really have us encouraged about expanding beyond the known São Jorge deposit to where we might see parallel structures, new zones developing, which are really building upon a foundation which will lead into some follow-up drilling as we move those new discoveries towards resource drilling stage of activities.
Right. So presumably right now the team is working up a plan defining targets for follow-up drilling. Is that the case?
Absolutely. And bear in mind, we've only had the first set of results released so far. We still have a large number of holes that have pending results and results to be compiled. So there will be further information in the coming weeks and or months in the sort of, I call that the nearer term. So those results are building into our own geological models, which are going into our budgeting process as we start preparing for the 2026 activities, as we're still wrapping up some pretty exciting field work still ongoing as part of the 2025 program.
All right, so some news flow to come there. So that's always good to hear. And then do you have a timeline on an updated mineral resource estimate for São Jorge sometime in 26? Is that the plan?
We haven't set a definitive target yet, and I think it's because the scope of that is still wide open in terms of we had an update earlier in 2025. So it's a current resource. The new discovery zones, we don't know the extent how big they're going to be. The question that always comes into, do we rush to get the preliminary resources put together as we start to define these, or do we put a little more drilling into them to see how big they can come? So those are questions really I think will get answered with the 2026 follow-up program. We've done a pretty systematic approach there. We started with the regional scale geochemistry and soil sampling. We followed that up with auger drilling, had good results. And this year is the first time we've actually done RC drilling. It's a powerful new tool. We're getting good coverage. We're showing some good results. And it comes at a much less cost than we would for diamond drilling. So it's a great way to cover more ground, put more targets on the map for additional follow-up and bigger bang for our buck for the budgets that we're spending there.
Alastair, something else that came up and was announced since we last spoke was the fact that the company has been granted what's called a renewal of exploration claim for, is it the Collidor? How do you pronounce that project?
Collidor, yes. You're right. And that's, really, I think that goes to, speak to the optionality and depth within our portfolio. Now, here's a project that we haven't touched in many years. It's actually almost been in a 10-year process, a little bit of a drawn-out process that's been on the back burner. We've been waiting patiently for that to get resolved. It has been resolved now. The exploration permits are now active. It lets us get into this project for the first time in 10 plus years. The Alta Floresta gold belt. It's in the It's in the state, Mato Grosso, which is basically one state south of our operations in Pará. So it's not too far away. There's a lot of activity going on in that state. And I think really what it does, it accentuates the optionality within the gold mining portfolio. And we see that in spades with the number of projects we have at the resource stage. We have projects at the pre-resource stage, like Collidor, which we've just announced. And earlier this year, of course, at Boa Vista, which was a pre-resource project, we were able to option that off for significant value. So really speaks again to the depth within our portfolio. What I would comment on, though, is that it doesn't detract from our focus, focusing on key projects, but gives us more optionality to perhaps find a partner or start some initial work in the background as we stay focused on projects such as São Jorge.
And just another question about Collidor. This is a long time coming for the company. As you know, the initial, it was purchased in 2011, this land package, and then 2013, if I'm not mistaken, a renewal was denied. And so here you are literally in 2025, years later, finally getting this. And so you don't need to go into the whole background. I'm sure you could fill up an hour with that. But how's the process going in terms of looking at the historical data and again, maybe flesh out some more why this property is an important addition?
Well, I think it's really to be treated more of as a bonus. I kind of think of it as a project that we had not put a lot of weight on. Few people know we have it, and that's why I think it shows great optionality. We will take the same approach on this project as we have done with São Jorge, and you're led by our VP Exploration, Tim Smith, who's experienced explorationist. He's worked for some of the largest gold miners on the planet, including Newmont and Goldcorp. We are systematically going back through that data now because 10 years ago, it was a different team involved. So we're getting our heads around the data. We're really just trying to see what targets and opportunities are there. The main effort by getting it out in front of the public is making people aware that the project is active again. I say there are a number of companies who are operating in the belt in the district. Those are the type of companies that we're having conversations with now. Maybe it's something we partner with, but the fundamentals right now are to compile the data, look at the targeting, going through our rating and ranking process so we can really identify what the potential is on that property.
We've been discussing the company's diversification, and some other examples are the asset in Peru, where you've got some antimony. There's one in the Northwest Territories. You've also got a uranium project in the Athabasca Basin. So do you have any quick updates there on those projects?
Yeah, and I think you've touched a few points there. Is the optionality really speaks on those properties. When we think of antimony that's been added on to our project in Peru, to uranium at our project in Alberta, some people say, wow, that starts to get complicated. There's a lot of complexity in that portfolio. And that's where I like to say the complexity and the number of projects that we have really just provide optionality. It lets us stay focused on our core projects while we try and unlock value from perhaps assets that are less core or less of a priority. And one of those type of projects was our Crucero project in Peru. I had a great site visit there just a couple of months ago. Fascinating to see that this is a project that has a sizable resource. There's about 1 million ounces in the measured and indicated category at about 1 gram per ton, about the same in the inferred, another 1 million ounces, approximate numbers here at about 1 gram per ton. So a sizable gold only resource. But when we went back through the historic data, there's significant occurrences of antimony, which previously had been studied as how to get rid of the antimony because the pricing was so fundamentally different when it was last studied. With current prices of antimony somewhere in the range of $60,000 a ton, it's a complete game changer on the project. We're studying that antimony. We've released some results, putting them into a gold equivalency basis. We are starting to do some work now on a potential update to the mineral resource estimate, which would include the antimony, again, to bring it in on a gold equivalency basis. We think will have a positive impact on those existing resources. And bringing in that critical metal, and it's critical across a number of different countries, has brought in a whole wealth of interest in that project. We're seeing interest from developers and producers in Peru, to TSX and TSXV listed companies, to Asian companies who are after critical metals. And the antimony really highlights the importance of of that deposit. So it's been a great turnaround for Cruzeiro. It's brought it from one of our more obscure projects to one into getting a lot of attention, and we can expect to see some new highlights come up and some catalysts in the future as we start to look at how we might begin our own process to re-permit the project, to get active again for drilling, and or begin a process to re-examine updating the mineral resource estimate.
Lastly, Alastair, to your point about some investors finding the multiple assets as complex, you say, no, it gives us optionality. We're diverse. And so the stock has been holding up nicely lately in what has been kind of a choppy market after a good run. What kind of feedback are you getting recently from investors? And do you think generally the market is better understanding that this optionality and sort of cottoning onto the story, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a fundamental disconnect between what the market valued our company as and what our share price was. And, case in point there would be just looking at one component of our asset value, which was the 21.5 million shares we have in Gold Royalty Corp. The value of those shares, went up more than twofold in the course of the first half of the year. So you think it went from $1.20, $1.50 a share to $3 something a share. You added significant value to our stock, and yet our stock stayed flat. So I think it was perhaps an opportunity that some people had overlooked. As we moved into the middle of the year, and particularly sort of centered around the timing when there was a Fed meeting at Jackson Hole, and there was talk of further rate cuts, and the price of gold might be going higher. Since then, I think gold mining has hit an inflection point. We have significantly turned to much better performance on the share price. We've outperformed the gold price. We've outperformed the GDXJ since that mid-August period. And I think it's finally catching on for a number of people, the optionality and the value here from a deep portfolio of resources with lots of different levers to pull, multiple catalysts coming up to get news out, and really speaking to the undervalued nature of the company. And when I was mentioning to someone that it wasn't too long ago that we were essentially trading for the value of our cash plus marketable securities, and we have no debt, that means you have a great leverage and great optionality on a very diverse and extensive portfolio of gold and gold copper projects, all, of course, within the Americas.
I'm just looking at the stock right now, Alastair, as we wrap this up. When we were at Beaver Creek, it was trading around $1.50. You're nearly at $2 now, and in the last 6 months, stock's up 82%. So that certainly goes to your point that investors are picking up and starting to understand the story a lot better. Thank you very much for a wonderful update, and we'll do it again soon.